Another jam-packed show coming your way on the Lakers Report as we dive into everything going down with this basketball team currently. But first, can you help me out? The bosses are telling me that if we don't get the Lakers Report to 49,000 subs by the start of training camp in September, I'm going to get fired. I love the homies who I work with. I love my job. I love being able to talk hoops with all of you. So that's why we need to get to that milestone. Make sure you hit that red sub button down below to stay in the know with all things Lakers year-round. And with that, let's start today's show. All right, welcome into the Lakers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. A lot to unpack and talk about on today's Lakers Report. And we start with this, some fake news. So the Athletic's Jovan Buha shut down some trade buzz, which all stemmed from a recent mailbag on the Athletic. By the way, shout out to executive producer Sam Brown for the elite graphic right here, producer Jack Lauderay in shambles. But the question to Buha in that mailbag, do you think that the Lakers will eventually end up giving 2 first-round picks up in trading away Russell Westbrook in order to bring in Kyrie Irving? Here's what Buha said there. I think the ultimate price to trade Westbrook will include attaching 2 first-round picks if the Lakers can finagle an alternate outcome, be it a pick swap or 2 second-round picks. That's a win for them in my opinion. That seems unlikely though, which is why there's a possibility Westbrook isn't traded. Between the 2 trades mentioned, the Lakers would prefer the Irving option. I think that's a deal they'd eventually be willing to include 2 first-round picks for. I don't think they'd be willing to do so in the Indiana deal. Now, what that turned into, it became reports that the Lakers were willing to include both first-rounders. But as we continue to talk about here on the Lakers Report, Jeanie Buss didn't want to give up those 2 first-round picks, and that's what, in my opinion, halted those trade conversations and a potential deal taking place because acquiring teams wanted that second first-round pick attached to the deal. Lakers weren't willing to give that up. Buha, more on that on the Lakers Nation podcast. I think it could go a bunch of different ways, he said, but I do think that if the Nets ultimately look to trade Kyrie Irving, which I think they're going to, the Lakers are in the driver's seat for that because Kyrie wants to be in LA. If he leaves Brooklyn and the Lakers because of that, have a really good position to trade for him. So no, they did not offer the 2 picks yet, but I think where this is headed and just kind of reading the tea leaves and kind of what I've heard, I do think ultimately that's how this is going to play out. Now my take on this, I wouldn't be surprised if a trade happens either way, just because I think Kyrie wants to play in Los Angeles, especially if Kevin Durant is traded. And I think the Lakers don't want to start the season, nor does LeBron James want to play with Russell Westbrook. I thought some of the things that they said to Chris Haynes about that meeting between LeBron's camp and Lakers ownership and management was pretty telling. Some indirect shots at Russell Westbrook. And I do think that Jeanie Buss does not want to give up those 2 first-round picks because she wants to look into the future a little bit. So we do want to hear from you here in the comment section down below. What would you do? Would you trade Russ and attach that second first-round pick, which includes the 2 first-rounders, for Kyrie Irving? I would in a heartbeat because it allows you to compete better right now. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Definitely want to hear your basketball opinions down below in the comments section. Next up on the show, LeBron James is eligible to sign that 2-year extension. He is not as of yet. We talked yesterday about that meeting between him and Lakers ownership, according to Chris Haynes, but Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer suggesting that LeBron should request a trade if the Lakers' struggles continue. Here's what he had to say in his article. If LeBron can get through the Warriors and then the Celtics or anyone in the East, it would bolster his legacy. But right now, the Lakers don't look like the best team to write the final chapters of his basketball career unless they dramatically improve. Short of that, LeBron will waste away another great individual season, one worthy of a chance to make a finals run. And at the end of LeBron's career right now, which is where we are, let's be realistic about it, he's going to be 38 years old at the end of this calendar year. For LeBron, it's all about distancing himself from Steph Curry because they're both tied with 4 championships right now, and then chasing Michael Jordan's 6 rings, and then, of course, Kobe Bryant has 5. And we know LeBron James thinks about his legacy and cares about his legacy. And if the Lakers aren't in a position to compete for a championship, then LeBron should look to move on to greener pastures, because right now those pastures not looking all that green in Los Angeles if these struggles do continue. Want to tell you about another deal here thanks to our friends at Fanatics. Lakers t-shirts as low as $5 if you plug in that link at the bottom of your screen. Chatsports.com/Lakers t-shirt. Couple of different shirt styles available. With that Nike shirt, you get the dry fit style, but also you can celebrate the 2020 NBA championship with the long sleeve here. And then little combo deal, the short sleeve and the long sleeve. I'll tell you what, I'm done kind of wearing cotton shirts to the most part. I like that material, which is like dry fit, because I like to work out a lot. It's just more comfortable, and that's what these t-shirt combos have to offer. Chatsports.com/Lakers t-shirt. Get hooked up today. More from Kevin O'Connor on The Ringer. If the Lakers don't do everything they can to build a title contender around LeBron, or if they try to do so and fail, he should leave for basketball reasons. Family, business, and the joy that comes from living in Los Angeles might outweigh the desire to bolster his legacy in a new city, but there are still chapters to be written that involve him winning on the court. And LeBron is still playing great basketball. He's not in his prime any longer just because of the age factor, but last year he was sensational. If the Lakers were a better basketball team, then LeBron James would have been taken more seriously as a legitimate MVP candidate. That's how good he was last year, and he still has really good basketball left. Now, last couple of years, the injuries have started to increase a little bit, and the games missed have also gone up. But LeBron is still playing really good hoop and still has a couple of really good years left. And he's chasing a couple of different things. We talked about the titles. We're going to talk about his overall legacy of him just being considered one of the greats. Guy entered the league in 2003. And the fact that he's still playing this good this late really is crazy. And LeBron, again, cares about his legacy. We know that about him, and he can get sensitive to it. I mean, I care about my legacy, so I'm sensitive to that as well. I want people to respect me as a guy who gives you really good content, talking sports, talking NBA, talking NFL, and I want you to be informed, entertained, and involve you in our show. So I care about that too. And for LeBron, it's on a much greater status. He has the ability to lock himself down as one of the greatest players ever. And let's say he wins 3 more championships, and that conversation about him maybe being the GOAT could also change a little bit. Coming up around the corner, how about Kevin O'Connor's top LeBron James trade fits? Very, very interesting stuff there. But I want to hear from you once more down below in the comment section. Describe LeBron's time with the Lakers in one word. Very, very tricky, but think about it, then let us know in the comment section. As for the teams just outside the top 5, according to Kevin O'Connor, a couple of squads here: Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies, Atlanta Hawks, and the Philadelphia 76ers. If LeBron leaves Los Angeles, he gets to team up with Joel Embiid, play with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, gets to go to Memphis, Grind City, play with John Morant, and a couple of the young studs there. He goes to the Golden State Warriors, and that team locked and loaded coming off an NBA championship. As for those top 5 squads, Miami Heat. I actually think LeBron would fit well on the Miami Heat. Obviously, he has familiarity with that organization, but they're really set up now to compete, and they just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, went 7 games in the distance against the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, a couple of really good players on that team. Next up at number 4, according to O'Connor, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have a really good roster of some really good young players. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Jarrett Allen, Ricky Rubio is the backup. He goes there, and the point of him going there would be after the final year of his deal expires, so Cavaliers, they don't have to give up any of their young assets to trade for LeBron. At number 3, the Portland Trailblazers. A little bit of a surprise here, but LeBron gets to play alongside Damian Lillard. They do have a couple of really good wings on that team. Anthony Simons, a good young guard who can carry the offensive load at times. At number 2, it's the New York Knicks. They are always star hunting. They've actually put together a roster that I think is pretty good. You have Jalen Brunson, the big splash in free agency. LeBron in the Mecca would be absolutely dope. RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin. He goes there in free agency, and you get to have that roster intact, and it makes the Knicks a factor in the Eastern Conference. Then at number 1, it's the Phoenix Suns. Can he finally carry CP3 to his first ring? LeBron James might be the player to put them over the top, and just imagine a starting 5 of, let's just say, CP3, you have Devin Booker, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, mixing it up at that 4 spot depending on how you want to kind of simulate that lineup. But the Phoenix Suns for LeBron James, that's pretty legit right there. So the top 9 teams that Kevin O'Connor has LeBron James maybe going to as either a trade fit, but I kind of enter my own opinions in there, a free agency fit if he goes there. And that allows those respective organizations right here to my right to make a move for LeBron without surrendering some of their young assets. Before we hop on out of here, real one, roll call. Type real one down below in the comment section if you are in fact a real one. And if you made it this far, that means that you're a real one.